If the answer is no, you asked the wrong person.
Ooh.
After I heard that, I was like, damn, I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
And I have. I tell people all the time, I'm like, oh, the answer, I'm asking the wrong person. Like, we don't take no. You know, your days are numbered. So, like, do whatever you're going to do. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people have, like, they'll try something that have one failure and then they don't want to try again because they're afraid, or people don't want to fail, so they don't try.
Hi, my name is Celeste Moore. I'm a certified image consultant. I help entrepreneurs, C-suites, discover and master their own unique style so that they can command any room that they walk in. Today, I'm very fortunate and blessed to have my really good friend, Limor Weinberg, today. She is one of the top lip injectors in the world. And I know all of you want to hear about all the things to get beautiful pumped lips, aesthetics, and all the good juicy stuff. So I'm going to introduce her really quick. She's a board certified nurse practitioner for over 20 years in aesthetics. She owns the Clinic USA and provides intimate boutique style training in this competitive field of aesthetics. She is known for her lip mapping technique, and I will have her talk about that in a little bit. And she has been awarded the 100 Best Aesthetic Injectors in America for the top 3 years in a row. And I just say she's the best. So if you're ever in the Miami area, you need to look her up. But thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This is my first, like, in-person podcast.
See?
So
it's good.
Exciting.
It's right in your hometown, too.
Yes. Like 5 minutes from my house. Couldn't be better.
I love that. So you're going to have to, come back or maybe have a podcast yourself.
Well, the next time you promise me we can be in our PJs, so.
Yes. Okay, then we're going to... We'll do the couch style then with either coffee or cocktails.
Hot cocoa.
Okay, or hot cocoa. Whatever.
Depends what season we're in.
True. Okay. So I met you. I just want to tell everybody how I introduced myself to you. I met you back in May at a convention with Jesse Itzler and Trent Shelton, and we were part of the same mastermind. And she was looking cute, and I was like, oh my God, girl, like, such a cute outfit every day. And, you know, I pay attention to those things. And then just found out, like, what you do and where you live, and even more interested because especially in the image world, everyone wants to know how to look younger, how to look better, how to show up as their best self. And we're in the entrepreneur world and work with a lot of them. And so it's always good to know from experts like you, like, how can we improve our aesthetics without looking like we do the injections. So I'm so glad you got to join me on today's show, but let's talk about a little bit about, like, how you got into this journey into aesthetics. When you became a nurse practitioner 20 years ago, did you always want to go into aesthetics?
No, I didn't actually. I was an esthetician, so a million years ago, I'm not going to age myself. It was like 20 years ago. My mom and I decided to open a med spa.
Okay.
Knowing nothing about med spas, so that was fun. And fast forward, I really took a liking to aesthetics and being an esthetician, and coming from like a Middle Eastern family and upbringing, you know, it was like, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, you're going to marry a doctor or a lawyer. There was no like room for artsy kind of stuff, or, you know, kind of like not that traditional path. So it was like, okay, we're going to be business owners, right? But then we would sit when they would do trainings, and the lady that was teaching us, who was amazing, she was like my first mentor ever. And she's like, okay, who wants to volunteer? And like none of the estheticians would volunteer. I'm like, I'll go. And she's like, you're not licensed. No. And then after like the third day, I finally broke her down. She's like, okay, fine. So I go in. She had been training us on like how to do like, and for me, like doing facials is like an art form. Like it's like a ballet dance, right? So I do it, and she's literally looking at me like, I think we need to talk to your mom because you need to do this for a living. So went to school, became a licensed facial specialist or esthetician in Florida, and then started doing it. And then fast forward, I ended up being a trainer for that company, and I went and I traveled around the country, and I taught how to do body treatments and all of this other stuff. And then I kind of got bored, and my mom opened a med spa. So the original one was a salon and spa, then it was a med spa. And there was a medical director, and he's like, why don't you go back to school so you could inject? This is like, I don't even know, 2007 maybe.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. So I go, I apply, I get in, then I don't go. Then I'm like, I don't want to go back to school. I moved to Miami. I work in hospitality. That's a whole other story. Side note. I ended up working at the Versace mansion. The Versace mansion closed because of a Ponzi scheme. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with all of this Miami BS. I'm going to go back to school. I went back to Barry that had accepted me for PA school. And I was like, hey, you guys accepted me 2 years ago. Can I still come? And they're like, no.
Oh, damn.
So then but you can come to the nursing school. I'm like, okay. Knowing nothing. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It's like, these are the things that I do, and I just kind of take a leap, and I'm like, sure. So I became a nurse, cried every day. It was not my thing at all. But I was doing it for like for the end game, which was to be able to inject, which in the state of Florida, you have to be a nurse practitioner. So I had to go back to school. So it was like a 4-year ordeal. And I worked in the hospital in the meantime, and that was quite the experience. And I definitely did not belong. It was like, that game when you're little and they're like, which one of these does not belong? And it was me. Like the entire time I worked in the hospital, they were always like, I remember my preceptor, she's like, I feel like you don't belong here. I'm like, yeah, like we'll give you that idea, like, sure, I don't. And then they started making fun of me because I was kind of like fancier than everybody, and I don't know what gives people this impression, but people always think that I'm like fancy or like,
girl, you are fancy.
Whatever. Like I was born like that. I swear I do not say anything about anything fancy, but I was, I guess, fancy because I lived in Miami and everyone else lived in Broward. So they were like, who's this girl? Like, where is she coming from? Anyway, so they would walk by the rooms and I'd be with patients and he'd be like, #yachting, and I was like, this is great. I mean, I literally, my manager, like years later, I got transferred to another department and like, it was a different department. And my manager would call me the pretty decoration. She's like, you're my pretty decoration. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Thanks. I have brains too. Hello.
Not doing my job. But no, that was just like the ongoing thing. And while I was working, I was also doing lash extensions and microblading, and I would travel to New York every month, and I would work out of this. Actually, she's pretty well known now. Out of Karina NYC's office on Madison Avenue, and I would do brows there when she wasn't there, and I kind of built my clientele. And I had already been doing a lot of aesthetics before I even became a nurse practitioner. So by the time I got a job as an NP, I already had a clientele. So it kind of all worked out. Like it was all in the same family. And even still now, like when I have someone in my chair and I give them like a little massage, they're like, oh, this is like the best part of this whole thing. That was like my first love, was doing like the facials and massaging and eyebrows and like just anything in beauty. And actually, if I think back to when I was a kid, I was always the one that was like collecting like Sports Illustrated magazines and like Bazaar, and like I would tape like all the pictures. All the other girls had like photos of like, what was his, Kirk Cameron or like Corey Haim, or like, I'm really aging myself right now.
Girl, I'm the same.
Like, wait, and they would put all of them, and I'm like literally like Harper's Bazaar. I would watch like fashion television and like nothing about fashion specifically, but I was like so fascinated by beauty. And I remember like there was this one like magazine cutout that I had for years. Like I probably still have it in storage somewhere. And it was like what all the supermodels have in their bag. And it was like all this like cosmetic stuff like that they would always do, like what's in your bag, So I mean, I was just always interested in it. So like to fast forward and like to be back in this, it's just kind of like meant to be, like it all kind of fell into place, and here we are.
Well, that's a really cool journey.
Yeah. So it took a while.
You know what?
It was definitely a journey. Therefore,
but isn't life a journey? I mean, yeah, it took me a long time to get to where I'm at to really dial in. So I completely get it. It's like I did this and this and this and this, and everything just led me to like really my purpose. So I truly believe that somehow, some way, if you constantly listen to like what you're passionate about, what those desires, what makes you happy, that eventually you find.
I think also like taking the leap, because I have a lot of like I'm around a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
And I feel like they get really scared, and there's a lot of anxiety in like the younger generation. I guess it's like a lot of social media and I don't know what's going on, but I didn't really have that. I was just like, oh, well, whatever. What's the worst that can happen? You know, like in my mind, I was just like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like, I didn't necessarily think it through fully, you know?
Yeah.
I just kind of took the leap. Now I feel like we have so much information, we can psych ourselves out. So like, you know, if you're looking something up, if you want to get into something and you look it up and then you have all these people telling you like, don't do it, don't do it. I'm the kind of person, like, if I'm going to do something, I don't even tell anyone. I just do it because I don't even want to hear
the naysayers.
I don't even want to hear it. Like, I have one friend that I always tell her, I'm like, she goes, how come you didn't tell me you were doing this? I'm like, I don't want to tell you because then she's so smart, and she always talks herself out of doing things, like, because she does too much research, and I'm like, girl, just do it.
Yeah.
Who cares? The time is going to pass anyway. So you have to do whatever you want to do, and if it works out, cool. If it doesn't work, it's like, you know, it's like a game of numbers. You just like keep throwing things at the wall and like something will stick, right? Yeah. Eventually. So, and that's, I mean, it's true because like, again, I'm surrounded by a lot of younger people in my office. I have 2 younger, women that work with me, and I'm always like, go back to school, do this, do that. I give them all these ideas and they're like deer in headlights. They're like, I don't know. Like, what if it doesn't work out? I'm like, so?
Yeah.
You're still young. I didn't even become a nurse practitioner until I was 38. So, like, it's never too late. I always see those posts, right? Like, it's never too late. Like, this person is 40, Martha Stewart this, like, Oprah this. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot think about your age. It has nothing to do with age. It has to do with being at the right place at the right time for your life and your journey, you know? So.
And if you don't try, like, the answer is always no, or it's always going to not work out. And
or as Kris Kardashian says, if the answer is no, you asked the wrong person.
Ooh.
That's literally my after I heard that, I was like, damn, I'm going to use that. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, oh, the answer, I'm asking the wrong person. Like, you know, no, we don't take no.
Yeah. Like
unless you give me like a good reason.
I love that so much because I do the same. And it's like, if half the stuff that if I didn't like push myself or just take the leap, like you said, none of the things would have happened for me.
You can't, nothing is guaranteed in life. Nothing. You know, your days are numbered. So like, do whatever you're going to do. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people have like, they'll try something that have one failure and then they don't want to try again because they're afraid, or, you know, I find that a lot that, you know, people don't want to fail, so they don't try, right? And that has never been a problem for me. I cannot relate. I just do whatever, and I'm like, okay, it worked, didn't work, I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I respect that about you, too. And I did see that with, like, you know, you join the mastermind, and then you're like, shit, Celeste, I don't think I've gone to one thing. And it's like, I don't have the time. But okay, but you tried because there was that sense of, like, community and, like, entrepreneurship.
I actually, you know, what's funny, like, in person, I loved that.
Yeah.
You know, but then to be on the calls, and there were so many calls, and, like, it was just not for me and for my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But then, you know, it worked out because I ended up working with business coach, and like that's been going really well. And, you know, I would not have met him had I not been at that, you know, everything kind of worked out.
Yeah.
The same thing with John, you know, John that I worked with for my AI course. Like when we got to the conference, when I got to the conference, and then, they're like, talk to the person next to you. I'm like, oh God.
You're like, this is the most uncomfortable.
I'm like, I can talk to people now. Like, I came here as a favor. I don't want to talk to anyone, you know? And she's like, they're like, oh, the first assignment, literally 5 minutes into the conference, is like, turn to your neighbor and, you know, talk to them about what you want to do. I'm like, I know I have to talk to people. And I actually hate going to networking. And I feel like I hear this a lot from people when I go to conferences. They're like, oh, I'm such an introvert. And then I'm forced to like, and I'm like, that's how I feel. If it were up to me, I would literally sit in my living room and never leave. Like, I do not want to be outside. I don't want to, once I'm there, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right. But, you know, first person I talk to is this super nice guy right next to me, or maybe he was behind me. And we just got into a conversation about AI. He's like, oh, my really good friend, you should contact him. And he gives me John's Instagram. And I look at it, I'm like, okay, whatever. And it was about real estate. So I'm like,
Yeah. I remember.
And then it just kind of happened. And I was like, let me reach out to this guy and see what he says. It was months later.
Yeah.
Months. And it worked out. And John is literally one of the most talented, beautiful, generous people I've ever met. And he's so young. And I'm like, you are going to be like definitely Forbes 30 under 30. I just feel it.
Yeah.
He's just like so unlike any other. I think he's 25.
He's 23.
23. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I was making fun of him because he had like just turned 23. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm like 100 years older than you.
Yes, don't worry. We were together for the last 2 days at speaker school, and he's just like so much even more further in his speaking career than me. And I'm just like,
and he's so good. He's like so natural.
It's so natural for him. And I just like, love you. But like, it's so great that we get to learn from young people and they get to learn from us for other things. So it's kind of really cool. So I'd love to know a little bit about like some tips that you could share with the audience about what are some of the things that you should look for? Just say they can't come to Miami to see you for, let's just talk about lip injections. I know you do so much more. But if they were looking to find a practitioner or a doctor, or what are some of the things you'd recommend that they maybe Google search, like check out?
I mean, one, you can look up the list, which is like the top 100 list. It's a public list.
Oh.
You can kind of see that. There's usually,
where do you
find one person in each state?
Okay.
I guess it's like top100injectors.com or something.
Okay.
Or bestaestheticinjectors.com.
Perfect.
Right?
Okay.
So like that would be one way that's easy, and you kind of know these people have experience, people voted for them, like their clients or whatever. But there are a lot of really good people that are not on there because they didn't like I actually wasn't on there for the last 2 years because I didn't care enough to like promote myself and like go through that whole thing, and then I was like, oh, but I like it, it's fun. So like this past year I kind of put more into it, and we sent out emails for people to vote. Like they don't have to, but I just was like, you're not a client. It was the client.
Girl, I'm almost a client.
How much we posted on my Instagram, vote today. I even had like this cute thing. It was like vote for Limor and like vote for Pedro, from Alien Dynamite. Yeah, so we like made one, and it was with my head. It was his body. It was his body, but my face. It was really cute.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so you can go to bestaestheticinjectors.com, or I'm gonna have to look up. I will give you the actual website, so you could put it on the channel, on the YouTube channel. But and then what I always tell people to look for is don't look for followers and likes and comment. Like look for the photos that they put, like their before and after. For me, like when you have a clean before and after, because I see a lot of injectors posting and it's kind of messy and there's blood and it's not like a clean photo. To me, if you're working in aesthetics, and I teach this a lot in my courses, if you're working in aesthetics, people are coming to you because they trust your aesthetic eye. And if you're going to post photos where one, you don't even know which one is the before and which one is the after, like you're not explaining that, or your photos are not clear, the lighting is not good, like I kind of look at that like, okay, but what's your aesthetic eye? Like you're posting this to the public, right? So that's like really important to me, and something that I look for when I go get injected, and I like to talk to the person, like do a virtual consult, even if you don't, like even if you live in the same city, virtual consult, get kind of like the vibe of the person. Yeah. And then, cause I feel like working on someone's face is an intimate thing. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not just like wham bam, think like, okay, bye, next. That's not how I do things. So I'm expecting whoever I go to kind of be the same, right? So those are kind of my tips. Like, don't look for the followers. People buy followers, and there are a lot of accounts that I see that have a ton of followers, and the work is fake, or it looks too perfect. Or I actually went to the UK. There was this one account, I'm not going to mention it. There was this one account, and I'm like, I want to go and see, like, she was offering courses. I'm like, I want to go and see, like, how is she getting these after photos? Because they're so crazy. Like the before is like one way, it's like the after is a different face. I'm like, how is she doing this? Like, what kind of magic sorcery is happening, right? So I go there, and it's like this little room. Like, it's not what you think at all, right? Like, I go there. It's like in the middle of nowhere in the UK, and she's like, there's like one room. Everyone's like being like escorted into this one room. They're like numbing. They have numbing all over their face. She doesn't even clean it properly. Like, it was like this whole thing. And I was like, in my mind, I was like fight or flight. I'm like, do I run? What do I do? I remember this specifically. She took a cat, like she was like busy, so she couldn't like, she didn't have an assistant or anything, which is fine. But she took like one of the needles and she pulled the cap off with her teeth, and she's like, and I'm just like dying inside. Like, my OCD is literally like, run, you know? But I'm like, I'm going to stay. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to watch the rest of this. And then she was like, oh, it's all like lighting and angles, and, you know, and I'm like, wow. So for me, it's like when you see video, you know, and of course, like now, this day and age, like you can edit everything.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard to know. Like, read the reviews. Google reviews are a great way to find out where you're going and if it's like legit, you know, or anything, like, I guess, like Yelp or any of those. I do read the comments on a lot of these. Like, sometimes like someone has like, you know, 400,000 followers or something, or like 100,000 followers, and they have like 3 comments. I'm like,
yeah,
that's suspicious, you know, like,
right.
Are they buying it? Or are they not? Or like, if you go to their followers list, it kind of looks like bots, you know? So if people have like weird names, or if all the accounts are private, you know, and you kind of can investigate. I just feel like people don't do enough investigating.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you an example. I'm in the market for like new veneers, and I have been looking this up for, I don't even know how long, like probably like 2 years now, doing research. And my entire Discover page is teeth. It's not lips or anything aesthetic. It's teeth. Okay. And I do so much research to the point that I now know the names of all of the ceramists that do teeth. Like, it's not even like the dentist, but like the people who actually are like, you know, the workers that are actually doing the art, like, artistic stuff. Yeah. And I'm just like, the people who make the teeth. So yeah, you'll have to give me whoever you're thinking of.
Okay. And
I'm like so particular.
So she's like a celebrity, and she works in New York and Beverly Hills. You probably know her name, but she was at that same event.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And
the problem for me in the US is like teeth are way too expensive. Like,
they're so crazy.
I'm not doing that. If I'm going to pay $20,000 for teeth, I'm also getting a vacation out of it. That is my...
Okay, well, when you find the place, I'm coming with you.
I got 10 places.
No, I need it for different reasons, because I grind, and they're like cracky, like they're like in the next 6 months. I'm like, what? So anyways, but
I think I'm going to be going to Brazil, but I'll show you the guy.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk later. By the way, that's just my example. Like, I've done so much research. I'm not saying you should do 2 years of research to get your lips done, but like, know who you're going to.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, how much experience do they have? What do their after photos look like? Is it clean? Is it crisp? Like, is it the aesthetic that you want? Because just because someone knows how to do lips doesn't mean it's the aesthetic that you like, right? There are other people that do lips, and it's not my cup of tea, you know? I like crisp borders. I like clean, like the proportion of the top lip to be a little smaller than the bottom.
Right.
Like, I like a certain aesthetic, and not everybody does that, you know?
So on that note, I want to talk about lip mapping, because I thought this was the coolest thing ever. And you do this on your clients, your lip clients. Can you talk a little bit about what that means and what the process is that you do with your clients?
So lip mapping is something that is used with lip tattooing. There's also brow mapping for microblading and you know, even brow shaping. They use brow mapping. So it's something that I took from, because I used to do microblading. So you took that from that, what would you call it? Like that.
Took that model, and now
like, I'm trying to think of the word. My brain has frozen.
It's okay.
I took it from like that industry, and I kind of made it for injectors. And the reason that it started was because I would teach men, and men are not that great. And I'm not going to say everyone, but men are not as good at drawing, because they don't draw lips, they don't draw eyeliner, they don't, you know what I mean? They just don't have that manual dexterity sometimes, and like they're not as artsy as women. So I had to teach an objective way of lip mapping because I was outlining the lips, right? Like with a pencil. And then I was like, how can I make this easier and kind of objective so like everyone can do it? And I remembered that when I would do microblading, they would use a string. So I'm like, maybe I could do this. And then, you know, I just tried on one. So I take like a cotton string and I put like some pencil on it, like a soft pencil. And then I started like mapping just like I would do for eyebrows.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I'm like, okay, so you find the center and then you find the peak of the one Cupid's bow and the other Cupid's bow and you connect them together. And that's lip mapping. And it was like easy. And then everyone was able to see it. And it was not an artistic thing that I was like, oh, I'm drawing the lips. Like it was something that was, you know, anybody could see it. So that's how that kind of happened.
And this is, did you write a book?
I did.
Okay.
I wrote a couple actually manuals. One of them was called Lip Recipes, which was about almost a year ago, which is crazy. But it's basically 40 different lips. I'm actually coming out with volume 2.
Congratulations.
With only 10 lips. It's more focused and it has videos, which I didn't have in the first one. But what it is it's 40 different lips, all different categories. So you've got like like difficult lips, easier lips, hydration, like wide lips, like how to kind of like tackle. Because I found that a lot of injectors had issues with like different types of lips. Like anyone could do easy lips, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying everyone, but like it's much easier if a person is a lip virgin and like has never had lip filler and like, I love, you know, lip virgin, lip filler virgin. So that's my favorite, by the way. So I was trying to teach how to kind of go about all different types of lips. And I originally didn't plan for it to be so many lips, but it ended up being that way because I had so many I have like 150,000 photos in my phone. No lie.
Wow.
And I would say probably like 70% is lips or some part of the face of clients from, you know, who knows how long ago, 2016, 2017, you know what I mean? So anyway, so it ended up being 40 lips and it basically tells you step-by-step directions how to get from the before to the after. So
that's huge.
Yeah, it was really cool. Something that had never been done before. Because, you know, you can buy a lip anatomy book or like an anatomy book in general, but that's not really telling you how to inject in any sort of artsy way or like how to tackle a specific type of a lip. So, you know, I'm the kind of person who's always like, okay, what's missing here? And let me see if I can kind of fill that. It's the same thing with the AI.
Yeah.
Like no one in my industry is doing really any AI. And it's something that really interests me. And one of the reasons I had joined the mastermind. And, you know, fast forward, I did a 3-day AI course and there's just like so much. I feel like I have like so many ideas and in order for me to actually pursue those ideas.
You need 5 of you?
I need 5. 100%.
Girl, I'm in the same boat. I have all these things that I'm doing. So
everyone's always like, okay, but like, can you just focus on one thing? I'm like, I mean, I would, but like, there's so many, like, I don't want to miss the opportunity. And I feel like there's so many good ones, you know?
Yeah. I love that.
To be lucky enough to have opportunities, like, you know, to be really blessed and lucky to have opportunities. I always say like, I recently actually like sold my business and no one really knows this yet, but by the time this comes out, it'll be out.
It'll be public.
Yeah, it'll be public. But I sold my book of business recently and people were like, well, why did you do that? Like some people that know. I'm like, well, if you're an entrepreneur and you're lucky enough to have options, you know, you have like, I had like 3 options and one of them was to sell it to this specific company and partner up with them and like, you know, have them build me a beautiful facility in downtown and like work with them. And, you know, they gave me basically like full carte blanche to do like whatever I've been. It's amazing. Like what an amazing opportunity. And I'm so lucky and blessed and happy to be in that position, you know?
Yeah.
It took a lot of work, obviously.
Sure.
The journey.
Yeah. It's not easy to do what you do. It's not easy to
It's also a very competitive field, you know, becoming more and more competitive every day.
So you've got to stand out in a way that not only being like top injector and top whatever, but not only is your reputation, I imagine, is like everything, because I'm sure your clients are mostly referrals.
Yeah.
But then bringing something so innovative like AI, which should be implemented everywhere. But if you can bring it first, and, you know, that's just another way for you to stand out.
I've definitely had a lot of roadblocks for that. I feel like when I talk to different injectors or business owners in that field, they're like, well, it just seems very complicated and hard. And I'm like, it's not. I've already done everything for you. You just literally have to watch this 3-day course. You know, I mean, there's so much. There really is a lot. I've narrowed it down.
That's amazing.
So that it's not so intimidating.
It's like cookie cutter then at that point.
It's honestly intimidating even for me because, like, I follow a lot of AI accounts on Instagram. And I'm like, oh my God, another thing. Like, it's like, so I'm actually thinking about just recording myself as like the average person, which I am, trying to use a lot of these apps because a lot of them are not user friendly and it's like a bunch of like, yes, you know, how is it for like the average person to kind of go into this and use this website or app and like, is it expensive? Is it not? Like, is it just, you know, a lie?
Well, I think too, a lot of it is like any kind of change. People like you and I like forced ourselves to like get uncomfortable all the time for growth. Yeah. But those people that are very like comfortable in that like, oh, I'm good, I don't need to add anything or do anything.
Yeah, but you get into your routine and then you don't want to change anything and you're like, well, how's it going to help me? It's just going to take me time. You know? Yeah. I'm like, no, it's going to help you so much. Like the amount of, I don't go one day without using like ChatGPT or any of those, you know, it's so helpful.
Yeah. No,
everything. Like
I've heard by so many AI specialists, like if you don't jump on this, like if you don't start using it, your business is going to fail at some point. So I just think we're ahead of the game in the sense that like you have to adapt.
Yeah. Well, like John says, you know, he shows like the bell curve, right? And it's like, you know, the people who are on it really early and then like, you know, then there's like the people who adapt after those people. And then there's like the laggards, you know? And I'm like, that's my industry.
Yeah.
They just are not interested in something that's going to take them extra time and like they have to take an extra step or learn something new. And I get it because there's a lot of things you already have to know.
Yeah.
But this is like, if you don't get on this, you are going to be left behind. Like
100%.
100%.
So what other services do you, like is some of your favorite things or some of the things that your company does? Like, I mean, do you do all, like, because you talk about facials, all injections, like what are some of the things that
my favorite things, obviously lips, which happened kind of organically because a lot of people didn't want me to post their face and like lips are easy to post. Yeah. So then I started posting a lot of lips and then it just turned into, you know, the lips over and over and over and over. And like, if you're doing a lot, then people are coming for lips. And then if you're doing a lot of lips, you get really good at that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. It wasn't even like intentional. I was just excited to be injecting in general.
Okay.
You know? But I love doing non-surgical rhinoplasties, which is basically like, you know, correcting like mostly like the profile of the nose and like the tip and kind of changing that proportion. I don't know. I just love anything that has to do with aesthetics or beauty. I actually wish I had more time to be able to do facials for people, microneedling, like anything that, you know, helps the skin improve its elasticity and collagen production and just in general, like helping my patients look the best and, you know, educating them. I think there's so much information and misinformation out there that it becomes overwhelming and confusing for the general public because they don't know. It's like every other day is like a new thing, like salmon sperm, this, that, microneedling, radiant frequency, Morpheus, you know, cool sculpting, which nobody really does anymore. But like, it's like you don't even know what you're supposed to. Sometimes even as someone in the industry, I'm like, okay, well, people are like, have you heard of this laser? Have you heard of this laser? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I would have to look it up because every day there's some other new thing, new fad, new, like I'm trying to think, oh, the last thing and most recent thing was PGF, which is kind of like stem, like a I don't even know how I was, it's like over, like, I don't know, like 800,000 growth factors, but it's like a blood product.
Okay.
So kind of like PRP, but it's not from the patient. It's from like a donor
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the donor.
So and I could be misspeaking, so, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And they use it in other types of surgeries, like orthopedic surgeries. It's been really successful, but there's not a lot of studies regarding its use in aesthetics. But, you know, the problem is that we're always looking for something to use in the under eye area because there are not a lot of options for that. And we have seen over time that under eye filler is not the best option because of just the anatomy and how it's being placed. And, you know, maybe out of like 100 injectors to know how to properly do it, right? So there's a lot of complications and different things that you end up seeing because the under eye filler is placed too superficially, or there's too much, or whatever. There's a lot of different things that are going on. So we're always trying to find alternatives to that.
Got it.
And, you know, the last thing before the PDGF was salmon sperm, right? Which has been used, polynucleotides have been used in Korea and in Europe for years now. And it's great for growth factor, you know, producing growth factors and collagen and elastin in your skin and like renewing new skin cells. And again, they've been using it, you know, they do the entire forehead, the entire face. Like in the US, we're really just using it under the eye, but you're not even supposed, in the US, it's not even approved, FDA approved, to be injected. So we have to topically apply it, which is not really
effective.
It's intended use. So, you know, we kind of get a little bit, I don't know, like stunted by the FDA in a way. Which is crazy because like they're very particular about some things and then other things they're okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Do whatever you want, you know?
Right.
So anyway, that's how we end up with like all of this information everywhere because no one really knows what's going on. Even people, again, even people in the industry, like I kind of wait for things to be out for a while before I jump on the bandwagon.
That's probably smart.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of people come specifically to see you from other places. What has been like the craziest, like what you're like, oh my God, you came from Australia or something?
Oh my God. Oh no. I can't even think of like any specific thing but I will say that, I'm always so like flattered when I hear those things. Like, you know, if someone like reaches out to me on Instagram and they're in like the UK or something. And I'm like, why are you reaching out to me? There's like so many people in the UK that are amazing, like my mentors, you know? So I'll refer them to those people. And they're like, no, I want to come to you. And I'm like, are you okay? Are you mentally well? You know?
Well, maybe they want to do like you and go like have vacation and then get like, you know, get the best of the best because you are.
Thank you. But there's so many oh my God, so many talented people. Like I wish we could just put them all in a room and pick their brains. But there are so many talented people in my industry, and you know, they're just artists.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, you know, anyone can wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, I want to inject Botox, and like, you know, if you're a medical professional, maybe do it. But it does take a special artistic eye and understanding of like facial anatomy to be good at it. And I think that's something that's missing in the public too. Like anytime I go out, right, and my friends are introducing me, they're like, oh, this is Limor, she's an injector, she does Botox, and immediately the person's like, oh, what do you think I need? Or like, you know, oh, I'm gonna come see you, and they don't even know who I am. Like I could have just started doing this last week. So I feel like people don't really understand that what goes into it. I see that a lot when I teach.
Oh,
that, you know, people who are new to the industry come in and they're like learning and it's their first day. And at the end, they're like, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, there's a lot more that goes into this. I'm like, yeah, like, what did you think it was going to be? You know, but I could see that, you know, it just we make it look easy. If you're good at something, you make it look easy. And yeah, I think we've been doing a disservice by making it look easy.
Yeah.
Because it's not. And I think it gets taken for granted and like anyone can do it, which is definitely false.
Yeah, shouldn't go there. I think the last question I have for you is so I talk a lot about, you know, image and confidence, and I'm sure that this is something that's super huge and rewarding on your end. Like, how do you feel that you help your clients really gain that confidence after seeing you?
I think a lot of my session with my clients is like a therapy session. Mutually, you know? It goes both ways, but I feel like when you get to the like I find that a lot of women and men have a little bit of body dysmorphia because there's something else that's going on deeper, you know, that they're trying to fix it. You know, something is wrong with their marriage or their relationship, or, you know, they want some attention or whatever it is. And they're coming in to get that from me. And I feel like once I can get to the bottom of what that is, and it is like therapy, you know, and then I'm like, okay, but you don't need that. Or like, you know, I try to talk to my patients and tell them, you're beautiful. You don't need that. You know, don't look at this photo. It's like an edited photo. This is not a real thing. You know, I kind of like go into that, and I bring them back down to earth. You know, and I'm like, okay, but you don't need all of this stuff. Let's do a little Botox. And my assistant is always like, don't you just take their money? And I'm like, no, I can't do that. Yeah. You know, just ethically, like, I don't want to be that person, which I get in trouble a lot. You know, I definitely do. But I just feel like you have to really, for me, like, having that bond with the patients and like making them feel good, and not necessarily from even aesthetic treatments, but just like talking to them is really helpful.
That's awesome.
You know, because it's not even about the outside. I mean, I know obviously that's what we see, but it's really about the inside, and like understanding where your patient is coming from and knowing why they're coming in for the procedure is a really important component, you know? Yeah. And getting the best result for them based on that.
Yeah. Aw. I love that. That's why you're so special. Well, can you tell everybody where to find you, look you up, and what's the best way to get that?
So my Instagram is Beauty Bay. It's spelled differently. So it's BEAUTIE .BAE, and the BAE stands for before anything else. So you can find me there, or my website is www.getbasal.com, which stands for Basic Aesthetic. I'm like Basic and Advanced Satellite Aesthetic Learning. I don't even know my own act. And where else? That's it. LimorWeinberg.com. Also links to the website. So
yeah, I'll share all that stuff.
Yeah, but super easy. But you can find me on Instagram. And
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Like, I just love learning
on a Sunday morning
about you. I know. She said to get her out of this, you know, off.
I was like, she was like asking me about coming on. I was like, what time though? What time on Sunday? It's okay. My dog wakes me up at 6 a.m. to chase girls. So
yeah, well, you know, you were up.
Girl dogs. I was up anyway.
Well, thank you again, Limor, for coming on the show, and I can't wait to do some stuff in the future.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yay.